Hey everybody, Joel Geyer here with Badger Beer Report, and I am back to have another conversation with someone in the craft beer industry here in Wisconsin. And today we are going to be talking about a brewery that I really love quite a bit, North Pillar Brewing out in Waukesha. And I have Ethan here with me. And so, Ethan, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of start with your general background in beer?
Sure. Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Ethan. I'm one of the co-owners here at North Pillar. I'm the head brewer. Um, yeah, we've been open since January 2024 here in Waukesha, kind of downtown Waukesha area. Um, yeah, my background in beer, I actually come from a home brewing background um, and used to work at Northern Brewer, the homebrew shop in West Dallas. Uh, my partner Braden, we met there. He worked there part time, and we both worked there for years. And always talked about the dream, right, of opening up your own brewery, and just as any home brewer does. And um, but we figured it out. We put pen to paper several years back. We planned this place for a long time. Um, and knew we wanted to bring a brewery to Waukesha at some points, and we did. And now we're here, and yeah, there's plenty I can talk about the building and the
Oh
space.
yeah, that's gonna be it's a great actually you're doing the segues for me because my
Yeah,
first
sorry.
question is that we're gonna get to the brewery side of this, North Pillar Brewing and everything in the brewery itself. But let's go ahead and start with the building because one, that is how you got your name, and two, it's a really cool kind of piece of local history there. So can you kind of provide a synopsis of your building that you now call home?
Yeah, so it was kind of news to us when this place first kind of fell into our laps. That hey, there's a very old building in downtown Waukesha that was once a brewery. It was once Weber Brewing Company, which got its start up way back in 1860, um, and operated here through 1940. So they were a big time brewery. Really, Waukesha's area in general has a great brewing history. Um, but yeah, you can kind of see behind me where our tap room is, our brewery as well.
Mhm.
Big space. We're actually in like where our tap room and brewery occupies amongst the entirety of the building. This was the bottling house. Um, so these ceramic walls and everything, and concrete floors and whatnot, these pillars. Um, this was where they bottled up, and we've got garage doors and stuff where they used to pick up beer. We've got these amazing pictures all around the tap room of different times throughout the history of it. That yeah, the Waukesha Historical Society really helped us out in learning everything about this place. We rent here, and the owner of the building knows it well too, and has showed us kind of the other side of this building as well. Which yeah, you'll see these like footprints on the ground of tanks from 100 years ago, and we're
Wow.
built into a hill here too, a big hill, and so there's old loggering tunnels that were built into the hill on that other side as well. So it's just a big building with a lot of history behind it. Um, yeah, it was kind of up until 1940 that it was the brewery. Weber stuck around doing contracting through another brewery. I think it was out of Iowa.
Hmm.
Um, and then after that, it was various like auto body shops. It was
Yeah.
right before us. It was an auto body shop, so it had seen some stuff. I mean, when we first saw this place, it took a lot of imagination
Yeah.
because, I mean, these beautiful tile walls that are original were just covered in paint,
Yeah.
oil, and it's interesting. We're on a second floor technically here. Our brewery is. There's a
Mm-hmm.
basement underneath us, which is, I think, unique to breweries, and it was a hurdle for sure to figure out how to put our 7 barrel system on here and not have the floor cave in and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, because there were almost holes in the floor and stuff. So it took a lot of patchwork to make this place what we thought, but we did it. We love it. And it's, you don't come across things like this so often. The whole process of opening a brewery takes luck. It takes certain things that kind of like fall into place. And this was the biggest one, was that, okay, we've got this space to grow. We've got space for an event room. How can we fill it all out while still also being technically downtown Waukesha?
Yeah.
So it's very cool find. Very cool find. Yeah. We're very fortunate to have found it.
And you guys had a couple old Weber Brewing trinket old cans or something at one point, right?
Yeah. So when we first opened, we didn't know the Weber effect. We're beer geeks. We loved the idea of this. We didn't know how much it resonated with the locals of Waukesha. And really beyond that, Weber memorabilia is pretty highly collectible stuff. And so, when we first opened, the day we opened, I wish I had one on me, but we had all these people bring in these old Weber glasses that were filling up for people. And a lot of folks kind of donated stuff that they had collected. Weber was really great, kind of ahead of their time with marketing and branding. They even came out with a hard seltzer back in the 40s. Talk about being ahead of the time. Didn't take off, but we've got some really, really cool stuff that we've collected, and signs and pictures and everything. Pens they would brand. A lot of nice stuff.
Yeah, because I remember I think it might have been Braden that showed me some of that. Because I visited I think it was just a couple weeks after you guys opened. I remember being shown some of that stuff, which was really, really cool. I know you already talked some about this, but you kind of talked about your initial experience getting to the building and seeing where things were at. Well, were there any other what was it like going through the process of transforming this really old building? Because obviously there were probably things that a lot of folks may not be familiar with, whether it's electrical or whether it was some plumbing or whether there was different rules, because if it's a historical building, what was that process like, going from starting with basically not necessarily a blank slate? You had to create a blank slate first and then transforming it into what you have now.
Sure. And one of the biggest things when we first got started was we want to transform it into our space, and we do want to be North Pillar. We don't want to be the Weber 2.0 or revitalize that, which is cool. Some places do that. We didn't want to, but we still wanted to keep the bones of it. So it was towing this line between the two that was challenging. That's kind of why we kept it very open, our tap room and everything. But there weren't bathrooms in here.
Which at a brewery, would be helpful.
You need a couple of them. You need a couple places to go. And one of the good things was that this is not a nationally registered historic site. It was just registered by the county, which allowed us to skirt around any red tape. So we got all the good stuff without having to, deal with what some folks have to as far as a nationally registered place. But we've got this amazing placard out front that the Historical Society had put up that people stop and look at, that talks about the history of the brewery, Weber that is. But the place was built, we had to get electric put in. We have an electric brew house that we have, so we had to get power for that. Plumbing and some things were just tough. Things were just old. But we were thrifty enough to retrofit some things that had been kind of just sitting around here and find use for them. It's just me and my partner Braden that came into this. A couple of homebrewing guys. We had a budget is the extent of it. So we had to make do with what we could. 6,000 square feet. We still got to fill this place out and make it feel comfortable. And that was our biggest thing, was how do we make this like very kind of stark building a comfortable tap room. So it's all kind of like quartered off with these pillars.
Yeah.
So we looked at that as like, all right, we've got 8 kind of sections between these pillars. How do we kind of section that off and make each one kind of its own vibe or whatever? Our event space back there takes up a good amount, but it's a pseudo event space. We keep it open anytime we don't have a private event as more tap room, but we'll close it off. Like last night, we had our open mic comedy night, which we'll have back there. And then we've got a space for music, and then we've got more of like a beer hall style table area for watching sports and whatnot.
Yeah.
Our bar is right in the middle, kind of this island bar, and then very, very open brewery. We wanted to make sure that the production you could see and smell and everything, and it's right there. So as much as we want to get brewery tours going, it's kind of like, man, it's right there. Like,
yeah,
I can tell you about it right now. But
yeah. Well, I mean, and the pillars are obviously very striking. You can see a couple of them, behind you there. And for people that have not been there, there's a reason that you included pillar in the name, is because they are like, that is almost like the focal point when you're walking in, of the building, is these massive white pillars, which are really cool and very eye-catching. And you talked about the importance of opening up in Waukesha. What about opening in Waukesha was important to both of you?
I live 5 minutes away. Personally.
Okay, well, that's a pretty good answer.
Yeah, and Braden lives in Waukesha too, and that was always our thing at Northern Brewer, was that it's a big city. It's a top 5 population city in Wisconsin. And we've got one brewery, Raised Grain, which does an excellent job. Those guys are great over there. But it's kind of on the other side of town. And, one part of my background from college is marketing and, digging into like what a city like this could hold as far as breweries go. It comes short. And like the idea of tap rooms in general, right, are that they're collectible, right? They're all different. So like we can do something different than the brewery on the other side of town, and people will be interested in that.
Yeah.
And really downtown was our main focus. There's this great kind of main drag in Waukesha. We're kind of on the other side of the river of that, but yeah, we wanted to bring a brewery to downtown Waukesha. And we just felt that it needed it. And really the more like research that we did, I always tell people that you should, try to prove yourself wrong when you're coming up with ideas like this. And if you can't, then go to the next step. And if things keep kind of falling into place and you keep finding reason to do it, then do it. So yeah, I mean, everything that we thought, we kept seeing like reason to continue it.
Yeah.
And then again, this building, it wasn't our like, we didn't search for it. We had talked with someone previously, the owner of this building previously, about a different space, more downtown, that worked at the time, but we weren't ready for it and whatnot. And then he ended up reaching out a year later with this, and that's kind of how that went. And it was just too cool of a space to say no, just with the bones of it. But it was, when we first saw it, again, daunting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you kind of already talked about this a little bit, but that was going to be kind of my next topic, was that moving into Waukesha, there was only one brewery here in Waukesha, and it was kind of off on one side of town. So what was that reception like from the general populace of Waukesha in both the lead up and the opening of this, particularly because, again, you were coming to a more central downtown location? Like what was that excitement level like locally?
It was great. Still is great. I think for me, being in like a suburb, right? Waukesha is a suburb of Milwaukee. Me and my wife, we had lived in Milwaukee for 10 years. And when you do that, you know, have this expectation of a lot of different breweries to go to.
Mm-hmm.
When we moved out here, and there wasn't that, it feels like it's missing something. And that was part of the reason why we're like, well, there's others like me. We've got 3 kids, and there's other people out here who had once experienced that, had once had that expectation, now have families or whatnot, still need places to go, right? So that was another key thing with me and Braden, who he's also got a young family as well, was that like, all right, we want to have a space where people can bring their kids, their family,
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, and stretch out a bit. And so that was one of the biggest kind of cool things that has really stuck to is the family friendly approach. And some breweries shy away from that. That's cool. We don't, and it's really stuck. Like you'll come here on a Saturday, at 2-3 in the afternoon, when parents can kind of get away after soccer practice or whatever, and take up space wherever it be. And folks who are coming in as a couple or whatever, or maybe like a quick business meeting or anything, everyone can kind of have their own space.
Yeah.
So we've seen that be one of the best parts that stuck from the get-go. That and the Weber effect was super exciting at first.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I was excited about it. I can tell you that right now, and I still get excited whenever I get to make the trip out there.
Yeah.
And you have talked about, you've mentioned Braden several times here. What has it been like? What kind of team are you guys? Because I know like you handle a lot of the brewing and everything, but how do you and Braden work together in terms of taking this idea into what it has now become?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it took a while for us to both kind of have our roles defined.
Yeah.
At first, and I think that's for any business, especially any partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're both wearing all the hats when you're getting going. He's got a day job, so he handles that, plus really all kind of back end work, communications, bookings, any kind of like tax stuff, admin things. He's kind of the point guy on that. Where and then it's just me in the brewery on site here, handling all production. So those things have sorted themselves out. We recently hired our first sales director, so we've got that cooking. He's been here for about 6 months, and he's doing a great job. And we've got an event coordinator now, and so we're finally getting to a point where we're starting to thin out some of the stuff that we were doing. Speaking for me, like it's tough to like go from getting, doused in grain and water and stuff all day at the production, and then be like, oh, I have to, do the schedule or do social media or whatever.
Bartender, hop out and be the face of the business, right, and have to deal with customer service.
Right. And we did that for so long, and it was fun. And it's honestly, it's hard to not do that. It is hard to get away from it, with this being like your baby,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the longest time, I don't know. I wanted to do all of that, but we're getting to a point now where it's like, okay, I got to brew the beer. I got to focus on that. We want to grow this thing, and we're starting to divvy things up. But yeah, Braden does a great job from afar, and I'm just here, brewing all the beer.
Well, speaking of the beer, we're now about 20 minutes in, and we haven't actually talked about beer, which is what a brewery is.
We make beer.
So let's first, we'll start kind of broad, and we'll kind of start to work our way down. Let's start broad. What would you consider your overall general approach to brewing?
So it's like there's like a spectrum, right, that breweries can look at, where some breweries want to brew only stuff that they want to brew. Some
Yeah.
breweries want to brew only things that their community, their customers want to brew. And while I think there are times to do both of those, I think you have to find yourself somewhere in the middle. And that's kind of what we do here. We came into this, we love IPAs, and we make IPAs, and we make a lot of them. I mean, we have 12 taps, and it's anywhere from 5 to 6 are usually IPAs. We just have a lot of fun with them, and they sell great and everything. But we have this event space that is a big portion of what we do, which is private. Like, it's a private event space that we'll rent out several times a week. The thing with that is that, if someone's got a retirement party or like a 1-year-old's birthday party, people are coming here for their event. They're not all coming here because they love beer. So we've got to have approachable things for those non-beer drinkers. So something like our Forward Pass, our blonde ale, it's great for something like that. While we do love making things that are maybe more exciting, we do a lot of fruited sours and things like that. We've come to realize that, that's not everything that we do here, and it can't be. So we keep a wide variety of stuff. We can up everything that we do, and we've got cans of great IPA that we come out with. I would say maybe one new one a month right now. And then we've got these much more approachable kind of dad beers, right? Like our Family Function, our red ale. And
that's the one I fell in love with the first time I visited. That was the one that I was like, damn, this is good stuff.
I know. I never wanted to leave our list. I love it too. And that and the Forward Pass. And then we are lagering beers as well. Mm-hmm. So we've got a few lagers that we love making. I mean, as a brewer, most brewers that you talk to are going to tell you that they love making and drinking lager.
Lagers are typically what I drink at home now, when I'm not out traveling and trying to, like just destroy my palate with every single style of beer in a flight. Yep. It's like, if I'm at home, it's drinking nice, lighter style lagers for sure.
Totally. I mean, Easter last weekend, I was drinking macro beers at my father-in-law's, and you know what? They tasted pretty good. But yeah. I mean, we try to do everything, especially ones that we can experiment with, as far as like IPAs go, or fruit and spice combinations. I mean, different combinations for sours, and then lagers are where we can kind of tap into the more traditional stuff, which is its own like animal in itself, which is super fun for me to discover. I'm working at Northern Brewer, like, because we didn't come into this laterally, right, from another production sense, from another brewery. We came into this from working at a homebrew shop. And so when you work at a homebrew shop, you got a million people coming in with a million different like ideas. Many of them aren't good, because that's home brewing. It's fine. I love that part of it. But at the end of the day, it is a million different ideas. And I always think to myself that it was a great way for me to learn brewing and, be passion driven and not be afraid to try new things. And I think that that's carried on into the brewery too here, and allows us to, not feel afraid to try something new, or be pigeonholed into one way of doing things.
Yeah. When you're talking about, doing the experiments, whether it's, I'm assuming with different hop varietals and different hop combinations with IPAs, or as you mentioned, like with the fruited sours, what does that process look like leading up to it? And then on the back end for you specifically, is this you kind of know how things are going to react ahead of time, and so putting things together, or is it there's a little bit of true experimentation where you are trying something where you're not 100% sure how it'll turn out?
Yeah, we kind of, I don't want to say we YOLO stuff, but we've gotten our system down well enough where it's like I know what the beer can mostly turn out like as far as IPAs go. There are so many cool hop products out there these days with different hot side oils, cold side oils, and then just like process driven stuff as far as how you're dry hopping it. And while doing that also, trying to get great yield and things like that. And that's kind of my focus these days is yield. We've figured out how we can like routinely do exciting things. How can we make sure that we're filling our tanks? Because we've got a 7-barrel brew house here. And with the new sales guy on, we just got our beer in at AmFam. Great. And that's taken up, a 7-barrel tank. It's basically a tank that's devoted to watching bees, which is our honey IPA all summer. So, I'm finally starting to get into how can I maximize everything while still like sticking to our identity and trying new things. And inspiration for like the sours and stuff, who knows where they come from. It comes from a cocktail that you might have somewhere, or just something you see online. You're like, man, I wonder how that would brew up. But do I have a pilot system? No. So there's a few different things. Like if it's a fruit combination with, like right now we've got Time After Time, which is it's blood orange, it's vanilla, and it's white tea. So that was something that I could say like, okay, I'll kind of figure this out. I'll make kind of tinctures or just flavor combinations of these three things and do it at different iterations or different amounts of each. So those kinds of things can be easy enough to do even at home. If an idea between either me or Braden or even our bartending staff or Brad, our sales guy, like everybody feels comfortable to say like, hey, what about this? Or like, if they tried a beer somewhere and it's like, man, they really nailed this hop. Have you guys ever done this? That's how I kind of find inspiration for it. And we've done a few collabs now, and that's always cool to learn just how everyone does it. Everyone does it differently is what I've seen. And
what I remember, because you guys have adapted somewhat too, because I remember when I first came, like, you didn't have it, you weren't doing like, these fruited sours and some of this other experimental stuff. And I remember when I came back later on, when we weren't traveling full time anymore, and being really impressed with the sour. So it was cool to see, you guys have continued to kind of add to your repertoire. And now you've mentioned quite a few different beers. If someone was to come in on an average day tap list, you could say, what 4 beers would you recommend them to try in a flight? Or, maybe some of them can be specific, and maybe a couple of them are just more of a broad style that you would want to mention, because as you said, with like the fruit sours or the IPAs, you do have a lot of experimentation where, if you say a beer now, it may not be on tap again in 3 months. So you have like 4 beers or 4 styles that you would typically point in the direction of people if they were trying to get a true appreciation of North Pillar.
Sure. We have come to have a few flagships, definitely. The one that I mentioned, Watching Bees, I would say go for that. That is a hazy honey IPA that we make with cashmere, laurel, and citra hops. And then we use locally sourced honey that we add in the whirlpool at very cold temps to try to retain some of that flavor. And that's the one that's at Brewer Games, which is very cool. So that one never leaving. That Family Function, which is we call it a Midwest red ale, which kind of toes between an amber and kind of a more West Coast style red ale. So there's a touch more hop to it, but it is more of like an Irish style red ale. We darken it with roasted malts as opposed to caramel malts. Just a
Well,
touch.
you call it a Midwest red ale, so you kind of have you're trying to create your own,
That's the marketing
style in a way.
Yeah, that's right. And then so those two, barley flour is our Pilsner, kind of our house Pilsner that we do, German inspired, all German malts. And that one we don't can. So that one is just on tap here. So, I mean, they say, and I say, you should always try a brewery's lager or a brewery's Pilsner first.
100%,
So
100%.
maybe start with that one, Watching Bees, Family Function, and then one of our sours. We rotate them quite a bit. We've had a couple stay on for a while. The one we have right now that's been on for a minute is called Anytime now. All of our sours have the word time in it, but yeah. I don't know how that came to be, but there's a lot of phrases you can do with time. But that one is mango, so it's a sour base with mango, lime, salt, and chili pepper. So kind of Mexican candy. I think that's where the inspiration came from that. So yeah, try one of the sours as the last of the four.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. That sounds like a pretty darn good list. I mean,
yeah.
I think I've had all three of the main ones, and then obviously I've had a handful. I don't know exactly how many sours. I've tried at least 3 or 4 of your sours, though I know, and I've enjoyed them all. So I definitely can vouch for I think people are pretty safe if they just pick a sour, especially if you have more than one, based off of, looking at the ingredients. Like, because a lot of times, like, people will have different fruits and different flavor profiles that they'll enjoy. If you just read your descriptions, because I know you guys include what fruits, that's not a mystery by any stretch. You'll be able to find something, that you really enjoy. Do you have, so I know you've mentioned a couple that you really like. Do you have one or two like personal favorites that you are most consistently drinking when you have a free moment?
Normally whatever's we've got the most of.
Yeah, it's something selling slow.
Yeah, right. But if I'm feeling frisky, like Family Function is usually my go-to. Otherwise, like our double IPAs that we've been coming out with recently, I feel like we kind of unlocked something with that. We try to keep like 2 kind of hazies in that 7% range. Watching Bees is more in the 6% range. And then maybe a double and a triple, or like a West Coast that's in more of that 8%. So if you see an 8%, like double IPA, we've got one coming out in 2 weeks that I'm very excited about. That's what I tend to go for. Very oat-driven malt bills that make for this just like amazing haze. I don't know what we got right now. Various Forms, which was one of our releases for our anniversary, which is a triple IPA. Right. That was a very fun one that we might be making into kind of a series. Various Forms, we did a triple IPA, heavily oated with various forms of Citra. So we did whole leaf Citra, regular pelletized, actually a couple different forms of pelletized, and then a couple different forms of Citra oils on the hot and cold side. So that one's really good. And so we're thinking like, man, what if we did Mosaic, or what if we did a different hop, something that we can find in various forms. But it is pushing almost 10%. So
I remember, I think I had a pretty small pour of that one when I was there, because I was drinking
small for that
too, and I was like, I'd like to at least try it, but I'm not going to sit here and drink 2 pints of this, and then
fair.
That may set you back a little bit, but
I mean, most of our IPAs, because of that 7.5%, I think is the max as far as like those drinkable hazies. We try to have 2 to 3 of those that are in that 6.5 to 7.5 range.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you mentioned earlier some of the comedy show and everything in the back there. If someone is coming to North Pillar, are there any other types of recurring events that they can expect to try to, follow along and maybe try to attend?
we've got trivia every Wednesday that we've got a great group that attends that. Yeah, the open mic thing has really taken off. It's pretty new. We just started it maybe 2 months ago. We are going to be taking a little break throughout the summer, but then we're booking that one. We run the open mic, but we've got an outfit called Next Stop Comedy that's going to kind of take over as more of a ticketed thing throughout the summer, because we just see Waukesha as like needing a space for comedy, and hey, we've got space. Food trucks are a big thing that we do here. We don't have food, but we do have a space outside that we've gotten really, really good with making sure that we have food trucks Friday, Saturday, Sunday for sure, and then on Wednesdays for trivia as well. And then we've got a few things planned for this summer. We want to kind of get events driven around beer releases, especially ones that we know that we've released in the past that have been great but are more seasonal. We're going to have events driven around those. And our big push this summer is for actually offsite events. So we have roughly like 50 events around kind of Southeast Wisconsin planned, beer gardens and whatnot. Those will all be in our calendar on our website, and we'll be promoting those throughout the summer. Waukesha, Muskego, McGuanago, Brookfield, and then so that's our big goal for this summer, is to get the word out at these things, and they're fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked a lot about kind of the past leading in through like how North Pillar came into being, and we've talked about where you guys kind of are at now. You just talked about, and I was just at the 2-year anniversary party. So you guys have now been in business a hair over the 2-year mark. What have been some of the biggest changes that you've seen, and some of the biggest surprises that you've had up during this time period?
I think the biggest changes goes back to kind of the roles, and making sure that we're all having a more defined role here, and also kind of starting to delegate them. We, bringing on a salesperson and having that kind of offsite sales digs into, what we had, been so used to with beer just being served out of the tap room. So for me, adjusting the production for that was a pretty big change. We were able to get our own canner almost a year ahead of when we had scheduled. We work with, we're really savvy on finding grants and things like that. So we were able to secure that and learn that process. And so that was very cool. Surprises. I would say like we've got a great staff here, like a great staff as far as bartending goes. And, you get into business like this and you hear talks of turnover and how hard it can be and whatnot. We haven't had to deal with that too much as far as staffing goes and hiring and things like that. So it's a good surprise, right? It's a good thing that we're dealing with. Bad surprises, I mean, things pop up all the time where I'm almost like numb into it, where it's like, man, I can't even like pinpoint one. I wonder what'll happen, later today as far as surprises go. But yeah, things are going pretty good, and we're kind of just rolling now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you talked about you now have someone in sales, and you just got your beer into Brewers games. Where else do you see then that's just been in the 2 years, which is not that long of a time that you guys have kind of been able to continue to grow here. And where do you see North Pillar going in the future?
We love this building a lot, where a lot of breweries look into secondary tap rooms, and this is down the road for anyone. We like that idea. As far as markets go, we love the Madison area, And so, like, as far as getting out of Southeast Wisconsin, that is something we have our eyes on there, just as far as getting our beer out there first. But this building has a lot of potential to grow within. There's actually a floor above us too that has potential for us at some point down the road for even bigger, like more wedding venue type event space. And yeah, so we want to kind of maximize this building as much as we can. But yeah, if a right space comes up in, say, Madison or Green Bay or something like that comes up, we'll look at that too. Keeping our options open. And like, I mean, brewery owners have to be so adaptable, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
So like, and you kind of got to jump at opportunities. If you want to grow, you kind of got to make sure that you're on the attack when it's time to. So, but yeah, right now we just want to continue like digging into this space and continuing to be a space for, again, the families of Waukesha, but then also like, this is an amazing building. Could it be a destination for folks outside of Waukesha to come and just check out, like, wow, there's this kind of new brewery doing new things in this space that once brewed beer 150 years ago. So
yeah. Almost try to turn into a combo, you know, it's a museum that you can drink at kind of thing is the way to market it.
Yeah.
You know, right. So yeah, I'm in full agreement because again, I've always loved the space and love your beer. So you know that I will vouch for you guys and send people your way whenever I can. Where can people, if they're wanting to find more information about North Pillar, follow you guys along, where are the best places to do that online?
Social media, probably at North Pillar Brewing on Facebook and Instagram. We're posting on there regularly about these events that we have going on. So yoga, I mean, comedy, all these things that we have going on. That's a great place to find it. If not that, our website at northpillarbrewing.com has a full calendar of the events. Our untapped beer list is on there. A little bit of history of the building and whatnot is there. But follow us on socials. Yeah,
absolutely. Ethan, thank you so much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. I was looking forward to, you know, getting to talk more about North Pillar and highlight you guys, and appreciate you taking the time out. If I know you know, as someone that's in the brewing industry like yourself, I know that you are busy pretty consistently. So I appreciate you taking the time, and make sure, if you have not already visited North Pillar, that you go and take the opportunity to do that. And if you've already been there, you should just go back because they might have something new that you want to try. But as always, whether it's where you are visiting or where you are living, be sure to drink local everywhere. Cheers, everybody.